Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to the Cryptolabs YouTube channel. My name is Colin Mason, and today I want to answer a question that I got directly, which is all about bridging. So first off, I wanted to talk about why is bridging even necessary? Because you would think that, hey, I have this crypto asset and I want that crypto asset. How shouldn't I just be able to swap? And it's not that technically easy, not yet. And I will say there's a lot of interoperability solutions. That's a big fancy word for saying the ability for these individual blockchains to talk with each other. And there's a lot of segregation. There's a lot of separation between these highways. So let me break down. I'm going to use a few analogies because I am kind of the king of analogies in the UIG community here. So the way I like to think about blockchains is that these are individual highways. And when I think about individual highways, you think of highways, you think of their exits leading to different places, right? So you have your shopping malls, you have your marketplaces that kind of represent decentralized exchanges or perpetuals exchanges or NFT marketplaces, or there's a whole bunch of different decentralized applications that are out there that we can interact with, right? And basically these are applications that allow us to participate in activities, and we either pay to use them or we get paid to be the provider, the liquidity provider, or the the provider of the capital to make those smart contracts and those decentralized applications run. So with these highways, this analogy of a highway, think of our individual wallets as trucks, right? Big kind of 18-wheeler trucks if you're a whale. If not, you got a little what's it called? Those little moving vans, right? That we are transporting capital on these trucks on the individual highways. And so if you think of a highway, you have the Bitcoin highway, and you have the Ethereum mainnet highway, and then you have the Arbitrum highway, and then you have the Base highway, and then you have the Solana highway, and the Sui highway, and the Tau highway. All of these are individual highways that are, dare I say, like their own networks. They're their own decentralized ecosystems, right? And when you think about transferring packages from one place to another, it makes a lot of sense that if it's on the same blockchain, if it's on the same highway, it'd be rather easy. And that's as easy as you driving your truck, which is your wallet. In this analogy, your truck is your wallet. You have your Ethereum in your back pocket. You have USDC as packages in that truck. And if you have USDC and you want some more ETH, well, the easiest thing to do on that blockchain, let's use Arbitrum. On that Arbitrum blockchain, it's very easy to take your truck, pull it off to the side of the road, and swap USDC for ETH. Very easy, right? Because it's on the same blockchain. What gets really challenging is when you have USDC on the Arbitrum chain, but you want Solana, right? Because these are two separate highways. These are two separate ecosystems. And I was speaking with a fellow way back. This is several years ago, back when I was doing a coaching program. And he was asking me, because Colin, I'm still not getting it. Like, if they're the same, if there are highways, can't you just take that truck and like put it over here? And I was like, okay, I got to refine my analogy a little bit. So I said, the difference between the Solana highway and the Arbitrum highway is that on the Arbitrum highway, the mode of transportation, let's say, is a car, is a truck, right? But on the Solana ecosystem, the mode of transportation is not a truck. It's actually in a river. So I need a boat. And so if I have a truck over here, my truck is not going to be able to operate on the boat. I need a boat to be able to operate on the Solana highway. And so all I'm trying to describe here with this analogy is that we need to make sure that we have the correct or the right tokens or coins in the correct wallet, meaning the mode of transportation, on the correct highway, on the correct lane of transportation. And so if we're trying to operate on the Tau ecosystem, well, having a Solana-based wallet is not going to be able to get it there. So if I have Solana in my Phantom wallet, I'm not going to be able to interact with the subnets in the Tau ecosystem, or I'm not going to be able to provide liquidity into Turbos on the Sui blockchain. We have to make sure that we have the correct or the right coins and tokens in the right wallet, in the right blockchain that we're trying to use. So hopefully that makes sense with my analogy. Now, tactically, on boots on the ground here, if I have USDC on the Arbitrum chain, and I'm wanting Solana on the Solana blockchain, we can do it in kind of two different ways. We can go the centralized route where we can send our USDC back to Coinbase, so back to Kraken or back to crypto.com or whatever centralized exchange that we're using. We can do that. We can send it back to the centralized exchange, and then from there we can then buy and swap on the centralized exchange, and then send that Solana to the Solana blockchain on our via our Solana wallet. We can do that. But that's the centralized route. Sometimes it's the more expensive route, right? And because we're going back through a centralized exchange, there's a whole bunch of reporting, et cetera, et cetera. So, for me, I think it's really easy. If you're just operating with stable coins, I think a centralized route is not the worst way to go. The other way that we can go is more of a decentralized route, and that's where these bridges come in. And I want to be extremely clear, that bridging in a third-party decentralized format, it used to be extremely risky. There used to be a ton. I think it was like billions of dollars were sort of stolen, if you will, fraudsters. Hacks were a big thing with these decentralized bridges back in the day. Not so much anymore. They've gotten a lot better in terms of security and the reputation, et cetera, et cetera. But it's still a little bit of a nerve-wracking event. Not to scare you. I just want to make sure that we are testing, and I'm going to explain that today. So whenever we're using a third-party bridge for the first time, I always send the smallest test amount through first to confirm that my capital has been successfully removed from my current wallet in the token that I want to send, and I receive it in my wallet in the asset that I want to use. I really want to make sure I do that with $1 or $2 to make sure and confirm that it works exactly as I want to, and then I'll just repeat that process to send the rest through. So with these decentralized bridges here, and again, I have zero connection with these bridges. These are just ones that I've used in the past quite successfully. So I have no relation to them. I have no guarantee that these are going to work. That's how I always do a test amount. And so don't come at me if you use it and it doesn't work as you expect it to. These are just ones that I've used successfully in the past. And this one's called Rubik Exchange, not to be confused with Lucas Rubik's, right? Yeah, we actually had a gentleman back in the day who thought it was Lucas's exchange. He's like, I'm trying to use Lucas's bridge and it's not working. I was like, Lucas's bridge? What are you talking about? Like, what? Can you send me a link of Lucas's bridge? And then he sent me that, and he's like, it's Lucas Rubik. And I was like, no, it was really funny. So, anyways, Rubik Exchange right here is one that I've used. Change Now is one that I've used successfully in the past as well. And Portal Bridge, I've used. This was a long time ago, but I use this, and people have used it and speak highly about it. So Portal Bridge is another one. And then actually Uniswap has the ability now where we can facilitate a cross-chain bridge within our EVM wallet. So if I have Ethereum on Ethereum mainnet and I want to send it to Arbitrum, I'm pretty sure we can do that straight here in Uniswap. So this is on the newer side. Obviously, Uniswap is a massive platform. I'm talking billions of dollars in TVL. But still with this, I would always do a test amount, make sure that it works exactly as you want it to. So all I'm trying to show you is a few options for us to do a cross-chain bridge. And to again use that analogy, it's taking the package in one truck and then sending it to a whole nother wallet over here on a new ecosystem, like I said, from Arbitrum to Solana, or from Tau to the Sui blockchain, whatever it may be. It's taking a package in our wallet on one chain, and we're sending it into another package in another wallet on another chain. So this is the more decentralized route. So let's launch app here on Rubik Exchange. Let's use that as the example. So the very easy, just to do this really, really simply here, on the top is the asset we have on the chain that it's operating on. And then below it, this bottom one is going to be the token that I want on the blockchain that I want it on. And so we need to make sure that we're doing this slowly here. So on the left-hand side here in Rubik Exchange, just as an example, you'll see all of the different blockchains that are available. Then over here, you're going to see the different tokens. Now, if I were to zoom in, because I'm in all chains and all tokens, I'm actually see if I can zoom in here. Yeah, I can. When I zoom in, you can see, okay, that this is the token, or the coin in this case, right? So it's ETH. But it has that logo of ETH, but you have to zoom in on this little circle. That little circle indicates the blockchain that token is on. So this is the base chain logo. So this one right here is ETH, native ETH on the base blockchain. This one right here, this is USDC on the Arbitrum blockchain. This is ETH on the Arbitrum blockchain. Let's find one more. This is USDT on the BNB blockchain. One more here, USDC.E on the Polygon blockchain. So really need to make sure that we're slowing down and really just double checking everything. So let's use that Arbitrum to Solana example here. Let's say I have USDC on Arbitrum. So when I select Arbitrum, you'll see all of these tokens over here on the right hand side are on Arbitrum. So there's no Arbitrum logo. It was only when I had all chains selected is there a little blockchain signal. So if I were to go Arbitrum and find USDC, this is indicating that I have Arbitrum on USDC and I want to send it to, let's say, Solana. So then I'm going to select Solana and I want Solana on Solana. So this bridge right here, this transaction that I can go through is sending USDC on Arbitrum to Solana, or to the Solana coin on the Solana blockchain. Let's use a different example here. Actually, let's go all the way back to the beginning. So let's go here. Let's go the base chain. Let's say I have ETH on the base chain and I want to send it to BNB or USDT on the BNB chain. So if I were to click USDT, so now I have ETH on the base chain sending into USDT on the BNB chain. Okay, so that's it. It's as simple as that. Same thing if we were to go to change now. The top one is the asset we have. The bottom is the asset we want. So if I want to go Ethereum on the base chain, this is what I have. And I want to find something super easy here. SUI. And I want SUI on the SUI blockchain. I could do that transaction right here. And I would go through the process of doing that. One thing I have to mention here, whenever you're doing, actually I already mentioned it, but I'll double down on it, is whenever you're doing a transaction with a bridge, always send a test amount first. Always, always, always. For me, no matter what the fee is for me to do this, I always want to make sure I send a test amount through first. Because if my first transaction is of a $4,000, $5,000 transaction and it never shows up on the other side, I'm going to be really upset. So I always do a test amount, confirm it works, and then repeat that process, do the same exact thing to send that full amount. I'll give you an example, actually, really quick. So this was actually TauFi. Not that I have anything wrong with TauFi, but I put through a transaction here. I put through a transaction with the bridge, and you can actually see I have USDC down here in my wallet, but actually let me go into actually no, it's fine. I did a test amount, but it took 19 hours for me to send $5 of USDC on the Arbitrum blockchain into USDC on the Tau blockchain using TauFi here. It took 19 hours. I'm not doing that to scare you. I'm saying that because if I had put my entire amount in and I waited for 19 hours, I not would have been freaking out, but I would have been like nervous. I would have been anxiously looking for a solution. And so just because it was a $5 test amount, I wasn't worried. I just sat back and I evaluated. Okay, wow, 19 hours. I wonder what was happening there. Let me go in their Discord. Let me go in their Telegram. Let me go in their community and see if anybody else is having these issues. Well, I went to the UIG and I talked about it and somebody said, yep, I tried that the other day. Same thing. But when I tried with Solana, USDC from Solana, it worked instantly. And I'm like, okay, wow, I'm learning things, right? So that's the power of community right there. But this is when we're bridging, when we're sending assets from one chain to another. Sometimes it takes a long time and sometimes it can be rather expensive. So shopping around to different bridges allow us to capture that best price. The other thing, one last thing I'll mention, is we can actually do this inside of our wallets as well. So if we have an asset in our wallet and we want to bridge it to another wallet, a lot of these wallets that are now being created can actually facilitate those as a kind of bridge aggregator. So sometimes MetaMask or Rabby wallets or whatever it might be allow us to facilitate those bridges within the wallet. One thing I would do is I would pay attention to which bridge it's selecting, and then I would go directly to that bridge as well, and I would compare, I would do it in both to see, will it work properly, kind of a thing. So I personally don't bridge from my wallet, inter wallet. I'll go directly to the, to the bridge site like this, and I'll connect to my wallet and facilitate that bridge this way. So hopefully this makes sense all the way from my analogies to these few examples. This is the idea of sending coins and tokens from one chain to another in a cross-chain decentralized bridge here. So hopefully it's brought you some value. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to drop them down below. And with that being said, we'll see you in the next one. Peace.